Hello and welcome back to the parenting season, and this is a parenting session, and we're doing a parenting series. So I'm Stephanie Johnson, and we start off with parenting one, which was give me a child till 7 and I'll show you the man. And that's an old saying from the Jesuit priest who would say that basically if they had a child in their care, then all the development of morals and values, all the critical early development milestones is entrenched in those early childhood years. And something that the Jesuit priests knew hundreds of years ago, psychologists and child psychologists and behaviourists are now telling us this in the last 50 years, particularly the work of Erik Erikson, who was an American behaviourist psychologist from the 1950s and 60s. So today I want to talk to you about one particular issue around eating and sleeping. We seem to have a lot of power control issues with our children, particularly their ages 0 to 5, and I'm going to particularly talk about the 2 to 4-year-olds, 2 to 5-year-olds, around getting them to eat and also to sleep. So let's talk about eating. Okay, first of all, I believe that we shouldn't have any junk food in the home, because it's just an easy option for the children to eat that over eating vegetables and fruit. So in my case with my children, and when I work with parents the last 18 years, I say milk, water and fruit juice is okay. I do not recommend Coke or soft drinks or red cordial. Fruit cordials are fine as well. Moreover, I don't recommend chips, party pies, sausage rolls, lollies for children, frankfurts. What I recommend is your fruit and vegetables, what you would normally eat anyway, your carbohydrates, your protein, your meats, your cereals, your breads, your nuts, your pulses, your lentils, and particularly your fruits and your vegetables. Of course, you've got to have your dairy as well, your milks, your cheeses, your yogurts. Okay, so I serve up a meal that I would serve myself, but it's of course modified to children. So a small portion of meat, small portion of vegetables, and that might be mashed up so they can easily consume it with their teeth if they're only 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Okay, so what happens when you serve that meal up and they say, I don't like it? Well, let's pretend it's the evening meal and you've just served them up some broccoli, some cauliflower, some carrots, nice and soft for them, in very small portions, easy for them to digest, with some little cut up cooked sausages. They said they're not going to eat it. So I would suggest to you then, one, are they full? Are they filled up in junk, snacked all day? When did they have a last meal? So maybe they're full. Other thing is, they know there's junk alternatives in the home and that you'll back down, then they won't eat the vegetables. So let's pretend that they had their afternoon snack, which was yogurt, which was 2 hours ago. They didn't snack on junk all day. They know there's no junk in the house, but they still say they're not going to eat it. So I always have a treat after eating their main meal of vegetables and meat. So a treat might be a yogurt, a piece of fruit, and then if they've eaten all that, then the other option is their final treat is to have a frozen yogurt ice cream. That's yogurt based. So I say to the child, well, if you choose not to eat your vegetables, then you choose not to have your ice cream tonight, your choice. And there'll be no more food served up tonight until breakfast time tomorrow morning. So I go over that and over that with the child. I encourage the child to eat. I might, if it's a 2-year-old, very small child, I might help my child to eat that cauliflower or broccoli or cut it up. Now, if I think that I've given too many vegetables and it's fair enough, they've had a good crack at the vegetables, and I made the erring judgment and overloading the vegetables, then I will say then, all right, eat another vegetable and you can have your ice cream, and then I'll pay attention next time not overload them with too many vegetables adult size. But if you think, that you've given a good small portion age appropriate to your child, and the child just doesn't want to eat it, then the child needs to eat it, otherwise it doesn't have other treats until it eats that meal. So then that child then refuses to eat that. Even though I've coaxed the child, I've come out and got the yogurt, show the yogurt visually to the child. I think it's really important that children see things visual. They're very visual, and adults are very wordy. So I think sometimes if we show that yogurt ice cream in front of their face and say, look, you can have this in just a moment if you eat another couple of your broccoli. And generally that works. Now if that doesn't work, then you say, I'm sorry, you can't have that yogurt ice cream, and then I'll proceed to eat that yogurt ice cream in front of the child. Now the child can get quite distressed at that moment because he sees that I'm eating his yogurt ice cream, but I've clearly told the child that if he chooses not to eat his meal tonight and not to eat his vegetables, then he's foregoing that yogurt ice cream, and therefore that's up to grabs for any other household member who has eaten their vegetables, including adults. I generally find that this will work. So child gets a clue on, you mean business, it's not going to get its ice cream if it doesn't eat its vegetables, and there'll be no other meals served till the next day. That's called a natural consequence, because what happens is the child will get hungry during the night, next morning it'll eat its breakfast, and by the next cycle around, if you don't back down as a parent, then that child will know that it needs to eat its broccoli, its carrots, its cauliflower, because otherwise it won't get its yogurt ice cream and it won't go any other meal, and it'll be hungry again. So that child will probably back down and eat that meal, or vegetables, whatever it's served. Now, I've generally found that works. Now, if it doesn't work, I would say to you that as a parent you might have backed down. You might have let the child have the ice cream or the yogurt instead of letting that child eat what was served first of all, the main menu. Later on in the evening you might have backed down and give that child something else to eat. Or you give them too much vegetables on the child's plate and you've set the child up for failure. Or the child's been snacking during the day or been on junk food, or knows there's junk food in the house. Now if that's any of the case, then those strategies won't work. You've got to get the junk food out of the house, you've got to stop the junk food snacking, and you only have the healthy snack meals. You have your breakfast, you have a morning tea, you have a lunch, you have an afternoon tea, and you have a dinner, and you have a reward treat. And of course you might have a milk at the end of the evening if the child is not lactic intolerant. Okay, so that's a bit of a strategy. Vegetables and meat must be eaten first before treats. The child won't have a treat unless it eats its vegetables. Make sure that it's, a small portion for age appropriate child, and it's cut up that's manageable for the child. You can make food look interesting and appetising as well, and try to mix up a sausage maybe, or a bit of chicken with the broccoli. And I always find that if you don't back down and don't serve another meal the next day, then the child will generally comply, especially if it knows it's going to get a treat like an ice cream at the end and you've physically shown them the ice cream. So that's one technique. Let's go to sleeping. The two main things that we need to get control on as parents is eating routine and eating, and also sleeping and a sleeping routine. Say your child's 2, for example. Generally, the child will go to bed at 2 at 6:30 or 7:30, depending if they have a little nap in the day. Let's say your child doesn't have a nap in the day, so it goes to bed at 6:30. You need to be really regular and stable in your lifestyle. So you're there at 6:30 every night to get your child down. You might do a routine like a wind down routine where they come home and play, then they have a meal, then they have a dessert, then they might have their bath time, then they might come in to their bed. You might have a series of wind down stories, and then you might have some nursery rhymes, some songs at the end. You might have some talking and some prayer at the end with your child. Something that's slow and gentle, rhythmical, and it's repetitive each night, and the child knows that when you sing this last nursery song or do this last prayer, then that is the end, and now it's sleep time. And you do this every day religiously at the same time with the same stories. It can be varied, but those last couple of stories or those last little hymns or nursery rhymes or prayers or whatever little ritual that you've got going must be the same right at the end, the last two or 3 minutes. So the child knows as a prompt, as a habit, as a ritual, this is my last song. This is my last nursery rhyme. I know I'm going to bed now. Now this might take a while, but if you do this religiously out of habit and do it consistently, you know, someone's still going to pat your child off to sleep. You still might have to stay there till the child goes to sleep. But if you do this religiously, day in, day out, it will work eventually. But you may need to review how much your child's sleeping in the day. If your child doesn't want to go down at 6:30, 7:30, it's 2, is he having too many naps in the daytime? You may need to review that. Also, you need to be aware if you're going through a divorce or a separation or a changing job, or if you just moved somewhere, or the child's going through an illness or just has a contact visit with a parent, or there's been some major upheaval or grief or loss, then a child's going to be unsettled at night time, and it will come out in that preparation to sleep time and sleeping. So you need to have some grace around that and be aware and have extra patience around those times. But you need to be doing the same rituals, and stability of the mother, of the primary caregiver, whoever that is, the mother or the father. It's really important that they put that child down to sleep, and that's every night. And so that involves stability of you as a parent to be there every night, and sometimes that's not possible, it's not practical. But in the most part, those early years where you've got some issues around sleeping, you need to get them down pat early. And I suggest, and I've seen this in my 18 years of clinical practice and with my children personally, you put the hard yards in now when they're younger, and you shouldn't have a problem with sleeping later. You get it down pat now. So it might be hard yards, you having to be home religiously at 6:30 or 7:30. You don't get your dinner till 9 or whatever it is. You might be in with that child for an hour or an hour and a half. But generally you'll be able to wind that back and get that down to, half an hour. But we need to spend quality time with our children, and that's a nice time where you can have some one-on-one story time with your child and listen to their day and go through nursery rhymes, and it's a real learning time as well. But as I said, towards the end, you need to have the same songs or hymns or nursery rhymes or prayers or whatever you do as your little ritual, so the child goes, oh yeah, I know that's ready for sleep now. It's like a cue, if you like. Sends a message to child, it's sleep time. So keep those last couple of ones the same. That's been my experience. It's worked for me. There's a lot of things that vary with children. You have to deal with sickness, if there's another sibling in the room with them, if they've had some instability or been with contact visits with the other parent, or something's going on in your personal life. They pick up on that and they can get unsettled, and that easily comes out through sleep. So we just need to be a bit more patient, have a bit more grace. Put your child to bed, it goes to sleep, it wakes up again. You promptly bring that child back to bed. You don't speak to the child, you just put the child back into bed. You go out again. You need to keep it all low stimulus. When you first bring your child to bed, you need to dim the lights, you need to have blinds. If it's summer, you need to have block-out curtains so it's dark inside that room. Wind down time, keep the noise down, really relaxing, so there's no stimulants to re-stimulate that child again. So it's a pattern of winding the child down, keep it low stimulated. If the child keeps coming out, you keep bringing the child back in. You don't speak to it, don't put the lights back on, you don't engage with the child. Another technique might be that you say, if you come out a game, mate, then I'm going to withdraw your favourite toy, and you take that toy off the child. That's one option. There's an array of things. If you do this ritually, it should work. Every child's individual, and something that works for a little while might not work later on. So you sometimes got to fine tune it. And as I said, if the child's had an upset or just been in school or a sickness or something's happening in the family, then sometimes sleep is the first thing that goes out the window. I hope this has been really helpful to you. I can't stress enough stability of the parent, rituals, consistency, same time. Thank you.